This panel is going to be all about everything restaking. Yeah, we're going to do a round of self-introduction first. I'll go first, and then we go this way. Yeah, let's make this very chill. Michael from Blockless here, co-founder. At Blockless, what we're doing is we're pushing ahead with the first modular application architecture, where we break individual applications into individual workloads, right? By doing so, we are actually allowing individual users to power the very applications they're using. Yeah, this is going to be very different from your regular decentralized applications and how they work. So more than welcome to reach out to me. Don't hesitate after this talk.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Siddharth, CEO of Skate. Prior to this, we were called Range Protocol. So from our side, the focus used to be on active liquidity management across different asset segments, Uniswap, B3, indexes, order books, and all that. Now with the pivot to Skate, what we are trying to do is sort of build a universal application layer so that now with the whole like modular thesis and like so many new chains coming up, what we're trying to do is sort of have an infrastructure where your applications can run with like a global scope with the same state on all the chains. So yeah, that's like really what we're doing.
So hi everyone, my name is Sergej Kunz, co-founder of 1inch Network, software engineer, software architect. And 1inch is a DeFi aggregator. We started with the aggregation among decentralized exchanges back in 2019. It's actually a hackathon project, or 46 hours and 56 sleepless hours we built 1inch on a hackathon. And nowadays we do a lot of different things. We offer for developers APIs to build only Web3 applications. We are building on hardware wallets. We have our own software wallet as well, non-custodian one. Launched recently 1inch cards as well for spending money with your crypto everywhere, MasterCard. So yeah, just trying to grow and expand the ecosystem, the Web3 space, and onboarding new people to grow our space together.
Hi guys, I'm Mrudul Chauhan. I lead product and growth at Zeebu. Zeebu is a Web3 neobank for telecom carriers. We allow telecom carriers to settle their cross-border transactions at a much faster pace with much better transparencies and better rewards. We launched about a year ago. We did about 1.5 billion worth of settlements with 250 partners across the globe. And we are trying to build up a more decentralized liquidity protocols to invite better liquidities across the token range that we support and help in better settlements across the world. Thank you.
I'm Pierre from Trust Wallet, leading the BD. I'm replacing Erwin. She didn't manage to swim until the event today, so I'm going to be happy to answer that. So for Trust, Trust is the leading Web3 wallet on mobile. We have more than 12 million monthly active users worldwide. Our main mission is to make the Web3 mass market, and add wallets. We have a privileged position to be the first experience for every user with any Web3 services, including restaking. So it's something we are happy to participate today.
Why don't we start from the very beginning and try to define restaking for everyone?
But yeah, I think like to sort of summarize it up for like someone, how I'm sort of looking at it is like consider like someone is farming something, some fruit or something, so and then they have a shop where they're selling it, making some money from it. Now consider like the byproduct of that, say you give someone who makes like something, some byproduct of that, and then you keep it at a shop and make more profit. So in a way, sort of like compounding, bringing some leverage to the system through sort of using economic trust on the Web3 side. I think that's what like restaking is doing through the guidance side.
So from my side, I would say I see it as aggregation. Similar to us, we started to aggregate decentralized exchanges. Here we have the possibility with restaking just to make one stake, and we can participate in multiple projects and earn from multiple projects at the same time. It's the same as the arbitrage trade. Yeah, so you just make one position, and it's going to be an arbitrage that you get all these stakes from different participations.
Yeah, I guess pretty much aligned to what he said. It's about how you can multi-leverage your one asset and get the best out of it. So it can be something like you have an avocado, you use that seed to again grow an avocado. So it's an overgrowing cycle with just one asset. You can multiply and you can get much more rewards onto one cycle. So it's a power of compounding at the last.
Yeah, I agree with what has been said. If we look back in the past, our ecosystem has been very smart in finding a way to reward the people who are bringing security. Staking has been the first form of that before proof of work with Bitcoin. Then we had liquid staking who came to unlock the liquidity and to give a reward to the people who are bringing the security. Now with restaking, it's just one more component on top of that. It's basically how we can still improve again the security, maybe not on the main network, but on an application level, but still to find the right balance between reward, security, and risk associated with that.
So actually, just to follow up on that, right? You mentioned initially we had proof of stake, right? Well, obviously after proof of work, we have proof of stake, and then we had liquid staking, and when people are just starting to think, okay, that's enough, right? We now have restaking, right? So how do you think that, why is this happening, and what's really the history of it?
As I said, I think people are always looking for a new way to generate the yield. Staking is the purest form of getting a yield on chain. Basically, you are putting your coin on stake and you're rewarded for the security you are bringing. But by doing that first, you are only contributing to the security of the main network where you are contributing. With restaking now, we are letting people to contribute to the security outside of the main chain, just from an ecosystem perspective. Because so far it can be struggling for smaller projects, smaller DR or application, regardless how they have been built. And restaking is a good answer for that. The only thing is about the security, because other wallet we always try to get as a premise focus our user safety from a financial safety or cybersecurity safety. But from a purely ideological perspective, restaking is a good answer to extend the security of the main chain to an application level. The only question is where are we going to put the right balance between not compromising the security of the main network. I think Vitalik talked a lot about that, to improve the security on an application level.
Yeah, I guess most part of it is how do you leverage your layer 1 security and still use your asset to give cross-chain, cross-protocol liquidities, because earlier it was always a question that obviously I know that there is a security if I stake my asset and get the fixed returns, but at last the asset is still going to a wane. It was not much of a use. So particularly you can better put in liquidity, you can use those leveraged asset into cross networks and get better yields and compounds out of it.
I see this evolution. So we started with staking, liquid staking, and then we go restaking direction, since it's more efficient than what we had before, right? And people are lazy, and it makes sense to use something that's more efficient than everything else.
I think like this small thing to add. I think in general why we are seeing these things is because market loves leverage. Like any new narrative that comes in, like once people are confident like this is secure enough, then the only innovation usually happens on top of it. Like the next buzzword, I would say the bigger buzzword than crypto right now would be AI. So even if you look at AI, like for the models to get more efficient, you keep on adding more variables to it. And similarly, that's what like restaking is. You already had like these variables of different liquid staking providers, and below that different execution clients and everything. Now you're adding even more variables on top of it, like different liquid staking providers and all, and then different operators, different AVSs. So it's just like sort of auto compounding on those things and how you can optimize.
Yeah, so none of us on the panel are from Hacker there, right? And or any other risk-taking initiatives, but we're all builders, right? From a builder's perspective, what do you see as restaking's main benefits and perhaps some of the drawbacks or risks?
I think like the risk side, I already went through on that side. Like you are adding more variables to question. So now, when people are looking at these things, they should try to quantify. Okay, Now, what if like a slashing event happens? Like there are so many variables. Like a slashing could happen on some like wrong configuration on the liquid staking side of things for this like different like providers that you have with like Lido, Rocket Pool, and all that. And then it could happen at the operator side if like particular player is sort of doing this. And then it could happen like a particular liquid restaking is doing multiple areas. Something could go wrong on that side. So there are a lot of these things. I think that's why I think Eigenlayer is going with a very good approach of sort of in different phases, sort of like later, once these things get robust, then they will bring the concept of slashing, and you need a lot of monitoring inside of Table too. But yeah, I think advantage-wise, like the key thing is like we're trying to latch on to the economic trust of Ethereum. From that perspective, I think there are a lot of new use cases for sort of, you can do certain trade-offs for giving faster finality, you can do certain trade-offs for giving more trust instead of going with like the ZK, but just like the economic trust model. Similar to how like the previous DeFi market or the previous summer was happening, where these new like Ethereum alternatives were coming in like proof of authority, where these different validators had a reputation at stake in terms of economic trust to sort of use. So from that you can sort of like improve on the UX side a lot, but then from that a lot of new use cases could be coming.
From my side, I would say we have different actors in this ecosystem. We have someone who is running the infrastructure, like building on top of Eigenlayer, for example, who needs the security of proof of stake, yeah, but cannot afford to bootstrap by themselves, so they can actually benefit of the framework. It's like a framework which offers you the possibility to launch very fast, very efficient on project and have the same security as the others. And but users can face some problems, like if you say that it's getting more complicated, it means it can go wrong. Yeah? You know, maybe Morpheus law, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's why on our side we try to, so when we produce something, to build something very small and highly efficient, what cannot really break. But yeah, here users need to be aware that they can face slashes. They can be slashed if they participate in one of the protocols that are not super audited and maybe have some issues, and they get slashed, and those eventually the whole stack, maybe part of them. So, but it's from other side, it's also great to onboard developers, to build on top of it, to have really high rate of security in common protocols.
I guess it would all depend upon how decentralized you can really make it out. Because at last, there are still protocols would still use those assets in more centralized way, if not. Because at last, those assets can be controlled by a party into the protocol, and no one knows what is actually happening to them. So how do you actually build up a user education? How do you protect them from this slashing? How do you ensure that it is a decentralized, transparent ecosystem so that user can track what is happening to their asset at last, which can give them much more better control on to building something on top of that as well. And inherently, the infra risks are always there into the play, where any hacking, any smart contract vulnerabilities can come forward, as a lot of people with this new term would come on board and build a lot of different layers on top of it. So to get that balance would be, I guess, the situation of moving forward.
From a benefit perspective, I think it's pretty clear for everyone. The extra yield offered by restaking is something which is attracting lots of civilians. But more than just the yield, lots of people are also gambling with the point system by trying to farm a potential airdrop. And I think this is also something to consider on the huge success of restaking so far. The airdrop season started with this point system, and lots of people are expecting to become rich just by farming and buying some point from this protocol. So from the benefits, I think it's obvious. For the risk associated to that, as Sergej mentioned, the slash risk or any penalties, it's something that could happen. And on a complex, in a complex system, the overall security of the system is just the security of the weaker component of the system. So the more you are adding component, the weaker at the end potentially is the overall system. So we started with native staking, we have liquid staking, we now have restaking on top of that. So if just one of that components suffer from a smart contract risk, a slashing risk, or any other thing, this could impact the overall system and make all the industry at risk. So it's something we need to consider when we are going to push for that solution.
So, I mean, when we talk about security, sloshing is obviously the first thing that comes to mind, right? But sloshing can come from various different things, right? And right now we know for Eigenlayer at least there are many type of ABSs out there, and the sloshing can come from various kind of events, right? So when we're doing this sort of analysis, what do you guys think is or are the most prominent aspects that you know, as a builder they should consider when building an ABS so that they can eliminate the sloshing risks?
I think like it would come down to how, like what kind of computations the operators need to do. Like a lot of the use cases right now are like what went live in the first iteration of the ABSs are like pretty heavy on the computing side of things. So from that perspective, the risk also sort of scales up in that. Like it's like ZK based, and basically it becomes like a black box for most of the people who are sort of like staking, delegating the stake to understand what's actually happening behind the picture. And I think I agree with one of the points that a lot of the times like these things sort of go in the perspective of like, you think it's all decentralized, but because it gets so complicated, like you need to have a centralized participant sort of configuring the parameters and all. And that could also sort of have like repercussions if things don't go well. So I think that that's one thing that people need to keep in mind. And then aside from that, I think now like what would be, like I expect like Eigenlayer is already spending a lot of resources in is a lot of these analytical tools, because from the people side of things, you have to see how they are getting in. Many are just getting in from the perspective of just trying to earn that yield. So they're sort of say buying these liquid restaking tokens and all that. So from that their perspective, you need to sort of reduce the risk because that's the biggest market right now. So then there needs to be more clarity on like how these liquid restaking, what's their risk appetite across these different liquid restaking platforms that you have, and then which particular ABS are they trying to do. So there needs to be some more proficiency in terms of users before they sort of put their capital or resources at work. So that's one thing that I think like people have to be very careful and proficient with.
If the question is about how to reduce or to lower the risks for being slashed or for slashing for developers, I would say just try to build simple things. Yeah, as simple as possible.
Yeah, I guess pretty much agree to the point where you make it so simple and so transparent to everyone that they understand what are the risks, what are the pros, what are the cons, what to do, what not to do. Because in this wide array of system, people get confused, they get lost on what actually the value is. They will try to just go everywhere. So to build up a narrative which is very easy to understand, which is very targeted to people on what their risk appetite is, and just scale upon those can be the best solution out there.
Unfortunately, I'm not skilled enough to give any advice on how to build and reduce the slashing risk. So yeah, I'm just going to refer to the previous opinion on that.
Maybe we should, after this call, talk to see if Nader is still here and ask him for the advices. But I think on a more general level, right, we talk about the overall benefits and risks of restaking. But right now, I know we're still fairly early, right? Eigenlayer just published mainnet, and sloshing and rewards has not been enabled just yet. But have you guys seen any early signs of any interesting applications that are enabled by restaking?
I think like from the first thing, like with the economic trust, what like Eigenlayer brings, it's sort of easy to bootstrap trust. So from that perspective, a lot of like new ABS that are coming live are focused on improving UX, like faster finalities or some other way of improving the UX. So how I'm seeing these things is like these things are enablers for people to build more powerful applications. I think that's what I'm looking forward to, like how these things would be translated on the application side. There are a few very good teams who are working on that side. From our perspective also, we are sort of trying to see how we can latch onto these things and some say, like right now on the Ethereum side, a lot of the things that are happening is like, there are so many new EVM chains coming up, but if you look at like the innovation side on the application level, most of these new projects that you hear about are just poking the teams that work on Ethereum, on new ecosystems, trying to get the grants, trying to sort of like make money, launch a token quickly and all that. So from my perspective, I think now there are a lot of enablers in the place where you can have this actual modular thesis kick in at the application level. So I'm sort of looking more on those side of things, how they would come into work and then how it improves the Web3 experience and all.
So I didn't prepare my homework very well. What I've seen, at least on the website, I've seen that they work with the famous, most famous Ethereum staking protocols like Lido, and they also support Coinbase and so on. So I'm not sure if it's true, but it looks like, so if I stake through a layer, I can stake and my assets in multiple protocols at the same time already. If it's true, it's great, because to put eggs in one basket is maybe dangerous. So to sit just only in Lido tomorrow is down and everything, I don't know, blocked and I don't know, in any sanction lists, then a lot of people will get troubles. But if you rebalance your risks and you put your eggs in multiple baskets, then you're more safer. So it's really good use case.
And I guess Rocket Pool is also one of good example on what we are trying to do with this whole restaking infra as well. And with Zeebu as well, we are trying to come up with a more decentralized governed pool where you can use your assets in multi-pool and use it for settlement purpose and then get rewarded based on that. You can again restake those rewards into the ecosystem and build on top of that. So that is something of an interesting layer that we see right now. And as Asian layer is coming forward with the mainnet last month, a lot of new apps will be developed on top of it as a protocol, and that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think from a purely app perspective, we are just at the beginning of what is going to be built on top of that. From a purely wallet perspective, I think the main application for us is going to be related to our earn page. We launched inside the wallet earn section recently, where user can, from a self-custody way, delegate their assets on all the DPoS and Ethereum including. The next step on that is to bring more yield products, more on-chain yield products, and restaking could be a full new asset class inside these earn sections. So I would say from a user perspective inside Trust, it could be a new diversified assets for them to enjoy on-chain yield on a transparent matter.
So for all these ABSs right now, right, in Agro there, if you're restaking ETH, basically your ETH can be, the same ETH can be restaked into multiple ABSs, right? And right now we have some, actually multiple strategy platforms like Renzo, like EtherFi. I think I saw someone from EtherFi today. But this is what we have. Like people are trying to simplify, to abstract, right, for the end users, right? For like individual retail people, right? Say I hold ETH, right? I'm trying to earn some extra yield via Atom there or via some other risk-taking platforms, but I don't necessarily have the knowledge to know, okay, which ABS do I want to stake into, right? What are the risk parameters? What are the rewards I'm getting? So this part right now at least seems to be very convoluted for the end user, right? And so that's why we have those platforms, right? The question from me is, how do we see this end user abstraction continue to evolve? And what do you guys think is the best way for regular users to earn yield with staking?
I think like for again for abstraction level, it's more on the liquid restaking side that I focus on. So from that perspective, I think eventually how this might evolve is that certain liquid restaking providers would be more risk savvy. So they might be sort of validating ABSs which like more have like higher floating standard deviation of like the kind of yield they can offer. And then like some would be focused on more like industrial grade kind of thing. So then I think the users also would sort of put their assets in that way. But it's like sort of a journey now. Like basically, you would have all these like analytics tools coming up. In the case of like these like liquid restaking providers, also they also have a lot of gray area in the sense that I don't think they would put all the eggs in one basket. And let's say having one operator, like one particular validator, like say Pigment, P2B, or like just using one of them to sort of be handling the whole stake. They would be sort of diversifying on that side. So they also would be trying to do some kind of analysis on that side to sort of diversify it. So again, there is to it. I think for the user side, this is the best thing of Web3. Like everything is transparent. So there would be a lot of active engagement going in. If say EtherFi sort of configures something that people don't like, there would be a lot of active conversations going on Twitter. And eventually they would sort of go into a lot more safer versions. So I think that's how these things will evolve, but a lot of area for all of us to see how this thing goes.
I see in general trend in Web3 that we move to where user think about what they want, not how they want to get it. Yeah, this is also one step forward here with the restaking frameworks, protocols that user just say, okay, I have it, I would like to stake, and I don't care how it works under the hood. I need maybe some security in place, yeah, safety, but I don't want to care about how. This is also here, 1inch. We take care about that already since 2 years. We introduce multiple protocols which are intent-based. It's also similar. You should just say, okay, I want to exchange one asset against another for the best execution rate, and the protocol ensures that the user get what they want, and the professional executors execute it. So infrastructure level. Yeah, so it would be in the future from our point of view more and more such approaches coming to improve the user experience, because it's more efficient than what we had before and what we have still now with the normal transactions and normal interactions. And yeah, it's more efficient. Something what is more efficient will win.
And yeah, I guess a good part would be to bringing in more institutions and how you create a well-structured products around it, so that it becomes kind of a safety narrative for users as well. That okay, if they want to achieve these, where do they go exactly, without even worrying about how it would be implemented, where I can do my research. And better more than that would be to using a cross-chain liquidities across the board within those same assets by those institutions, so that it can give a wide array of rewards at last, which can help user at the end. And I would still focus on one part would be creating more kind of an awareness and structured content around to simplify those things out, so that it becomes clear to them on what should they focus on.
So far, the wallets are the best distribution channel for any Web3 services. At Trust, we always try to remain agnostic in terms of the project or the chain we are going to do collaboration. On the only condition they are matching the criteria we have from a security and reward standpoint for our user. So for all the protocol you mentioned at the beginning, we could also have named CapDAO, which is here too, Picasso. All that protocol, we are going probably to work with them. And since, as we did on Swap, for example, on Swap we have multiple providers, 1inch is one of them. Since 1inch on the EVM market got most of the time the best rate inside the app, they have most part of our volume. It's going probably to be the same for the restaking protocol. We're going to see which protocol are fitting the best the user needs, and then we are going to try to bring the best condition for them to compete on a fair way inside the app to get our user attention. So, yeah.
I see. And right now, I guess, as Aguilar is going mainnet, right, just this month, and a few months later, hopefully we'll see the sloshing and payment going live as well, right? During this time period, what are the infrastructures that you think will greatly improve the user experiences of restaking?
I think one would be like building on like what happened in liquid staking. You had these platforms like the SSV, Ogle, what is the distributed validator technology. So some kind of ways to sort of decentralize on that side, like how Eigenlayer is sort of having these operators set up. That's one thing. And then, yeah, other than that, I think mostly a lot of analytics have to be in place for people to understand, okay, what's happening. It's getting super complicated for most. Like, say, that's what I'm saying, like, explaining to people how eigenlayer works, what it is also in itself so technical. Then, if you get into the deep down of, like, say, okay, what's these areas and all, it gets even more complicated. So, you need to sort of have a lot better analytics tools out there, basically, then you sort of iterate towards the slashing and all these mechanisms.
Yeah, I guess more part right now that would be in prime focus would be how centralized custodians or the wallets could come on board to create those infra on top of everything and give that trust to the users so that they can start experiencing things around and gradually evolve that cycle to a more decentralized ecosystem. That would be the major part moving forward.
From an infra perspective, I would say, like all the other domain in our industry, the more we will have builders from an infra level, the better the quality is going to be. The competition, even on an infra level, is going to increase overall the service quality and reduce the fees for the end user. So, with a pretty BD perspective, with a very few tech knowledge, I would say, yeah, more competition on an infra level.
Actually, I may have a question for you, Sid. Is Skate actually going to do an ABS on Agate? Yes? And do you want to tell us about how exactly the rate staking and how the compute part actually works?
I can build up like from what we were doing before and how it would sort of play around. So from our side, the focus was on the range protocol side, mostly on active liquidity management. But like the key problems that we faced was for the past few months, we were just scaling on as many chains as possible, just trying to get the network effects on that side. But I think like the key thing that we figured out was that right now you have the whole modular lot of chains coming up, but the applications right now are still built for like monolithic chains. So they all operate, like every chain has a Uniswap V3 fork, all of them operate independently in silos. So from our side, like what we're trying to do is sort of make the application layer ready for the modular side. So we're trying to sort of build framework where we can segregate app logic from the asset so that they can run on all these chains with a single state. And for that, there's a component to it of sort of pulling the state from one chain to another. And where it's like synonymous to, I think, from one side, I think, Sergej mentioned on the side of like how these private market makers, the systematic entities are taking like the pricing risk and doing all the heavy lifting. From our perspective, it's like how we can sort of have these like entities still keeping everything trustless, but having these sophisticated entities do the heavy lifting on the interop side and take like the interop risk, but enable like a better UX for the users. So that's where like the eigenlayer things will kick in for us.
And how exactly does the slashing work for you guys? Have you guys already designed this part?
I think, and that's something for us to also figure out. That's why I said like we've tried to do a lot of internal research on like how these different liquid restaking protocols are going. But for them also like the key thing that we got away is like they're just choosing one proficient operator set to sort of manage everything. And like for them also they have to diversify and have to have an analytics tool on how it's going and all. So I think it's a bit early. For a lot of like the ABS that you look at right now, for the slashing component, it's all like a to-do coming everywhere. So from our perspective also, it's just like a to-do at this point. We're trying to figure that out.
I mean, this panel is about restaking, right? And we've been just talking about eigenlayer. But I mean, there are some other staking initiatives coming out, right? And working with not only Ethereum, but say with Bitcoin and Solana and other ecosystems. What are the more exciting things happening in those ecosystems that we see?
I guess in Bitcoin I was researching and there is one, I would say, a project that is coming forward with BTC as restaking. There's something of an interest to see how actually they are doing it out. But obviously when Ether came out with Ether 2.0 and they gave the concept of restaking, a lot of EVM chains would also come in forward and see how it could be implemented to get better securities across the layer and to keep asset safe while still staking them out into the main protocol. But it would be much more of an interest to see how non-EVM chains are trying to do it out. And that's where we see.
I think Picasso is doing a good job so far on Solana and Cosmos to bring restaking on non-EVM chain. But maybe the future is to find a way to get restaking on a cross-chain level for both EVM and non-EVM. This would give the user, regardless the asset they have, to contribute to the overall security. So this means someone on Solana can contribute to the security of an app on Ethereum and reversing. So yeah, from my perspective, this would be a good next good iteration from innovative perspective.
Let's see, thank you. And this is actually all the questions I have.